In case you just tuned in, we're talking to business psychologist Dr. Stephen Laser, and he has a new book out called Out of Work and Over 40. And Dr. Laser, I believe one of the topics you discuss in your book is creating a self-study program for yourself to sharpen your skills. Now, what does that entail?
Well, if you're over 40, and of course, out of work, one of the areas that you may not be too skilled in is this whole notion of social networking. The use of the Facebook, the use of Twitter, even LinkedIn, which a lot of companies have, a lot of people use. And so I recommend that, you take this time and you brush up these skills. And there's ways to do it very inexpensively. There's community colleges, and the state of California has probably one of the best community college programs in the country. Even local high schools at night feature these continuing education courses.
Well, and I know in this area there's an active adult school. We have the ROP regional occupational programs, and there's also an array of vocational colleges. And, of course, those are a lot more expensive, but they are a way of brushing up on skills. And then our local Cal State University San Bernardino has a very robust extended learning program. You don't have to be a matriculated student. You just take classes as you need them through the extended learning.
Excellent. That's excellent. And, of course, not just the social networking skills. You may want to brush up in other areas related to your work. And these are, relatively inexpensive ways to do it. And now you have the time, and nothing could be better than to put that time to good use.
Yes. Well, and I have to say, if you are, I couldn't agree with you more on this, on all of your points. And one of the other things, too, is, it's important for your children. If you're in your 40s, chances are you have kids, and they could be varying ages from teenagers to very little ones. If they see you rolling up your sleeves and working and volunteering and giving back and being connected and being active, it teaches them an important lesson as well.
Absolutely. And, the resilience that you show during this period makes you a role model for the family. And, of course, that's very important. And in the holiday season especially, where we know tensions can rise, there can be problems and dysfunction within families, especially people that are out of work, it's even more important to maintain that kind of a positive and proactive attitude.
Now, Dr. Laser, you've written this book called Out of Work and Over 40. Is there any particular reason or situation that inspired you to write this particular book? Is it from your own life experience or somebody you know, perhaps?
Well, actually, in some ways it is from my experience, but not quite as you might think. I am an industrial psychologist, and I evaluate people for jobs. And so I sit on the other side of the desk. In fact, I was going to call the book The Other Side of the Desk, but that sounded more like a novel than a self-help book. But I really wanted to write this book because I'll tell you, for many years I've been speaking to groups of unemployed people at various community centers, churches, synagogues, congregations around the Chicago area. And as the recession deepened in 07, 08, 09, continuing, up to now, the groups I've talked to have been larger and larger. So I thought, there is a need for a book for these people, number one, to learn how to survive unemployment by doing some of the things we're talking about on the show today. And then the book really gets into things like how do you take tests online? How do you interview and deal with some of the interviewing that's being thrown at job candidates, behavioral-based interviewing in particular? How do you write a resume now that's looking for key words? Because it used to be just write a resume and send it in, but there's a whole art to manipulating the scanners that are looking for key words to bounce applicants out of the pool.
Right. Well,
and so I thought I'd put all this information in because, as I say, sitting on the other side of the desk, I see how companies work. I help them evaluate for certain skills, so I thought this might be a much-needed topic.
Well, let me ask you this, too. So much of hiring when the job market is tight is knowing people and networking. So it's important, and since you've been on the other side of the desk, how important is that now during this economic downturn?
It's very important. And, in fact, sometimes the social networking and the Internet and the job boards, it's overplayed. And people feel like they can sit at home in their pajamas and run through jobs on the Internet and work LinkedIn. And it's important. Don't misunderstand me. But you need to be out in front of people. And hard as that is sometimes, especially when you've lost a bit of that identity being jobless, it's critical.
And Dr. Laser, before we let you go and move on to our business report, how can our listeners get a hold of your book, Out of Work and Over 40?
Well, the book is, you can get it through Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. You can simply Google the title and my name, Stephen A. Laser, L-A-S-E-R, and that will call it up. And the book is available hardcover and softcover. But if you have a Kindle or an e-reader, it's much less expensive, and I advise that route if you've got one.
Well, Dr. Stephen Laser, business psychologist, author of the book Out of Work and Over 40, thank you very much for taking the time to talk about your book and what to do if you're unemployed during the holiday season and over 40, and we wish you a happy Christmas holiday season.
Well, thank you very much, and the best to you as well.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you very much. You're listening to the KCAA Morning Show, live from the Carousel Mall in San Bernardino. I'm John Watanabe, along with Erin Brinker. Paul Lane has the day off. Currently 50 degrees in San Bernardino outside our Carousel Mall studios, and a winter storm warning is in effect from 10 a.m. this morning to 2 p.m. tomorrow. 12 to 18 inches above 6,000 feet in the San Bernardino County Mountains, and 6 to 10 inches of snow above 6,000 feet in the Riverside County Mountains. And now it's time to take a look at numbers of a different kind. Time to see how those numbers are shaping up on Wall Street. Here's the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Retail and wholesale inflation, retail sales, just some of the reports that will influence market direction this week. Those stories next.
You're stranded by the side of the road. It's raining, 1 in the morning, and your car has a flat tire. Too bad your motor club membership expired years ago. Who can you call for help? Allstate wants everyone to be protected on the road. So before this happens to you, give them a call. Because right now, Allstate is giving every driver in America a free lifetime membership in Good Hands Roadside Assistance just for calling. You don't even have to be an Allstate customer. You'll get 24/7 access and low flat rates on everything from tows to tire changes. So down the road, when you need help, you'll know you're in good hands.
Call a local agent or 888-ALL-STATE today and get a lifetime membership in Good Hands Roadside Assistance absolutely free. You can't afford not to call. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
Shop less, get more. Make one call to an Allstate agent.
Investors hope to build on last week's gains on Wall Street. This week, we're watching to see whether investors remain enthusiastic about efforts in Europe to shore up the stability of their banks and debt markets. Investors also will be reacting to a number of reports on the U.S. economy, including a report on government spending today. Later in the week, investors reacting to monthly reports on retail sales, inflation at the retail and wholesale levels, manufacturing in the New York and Philadelphia regions, and tomorrow's Fed statement on the direction of interest rates and monetary policy. Investors will also be reacting to quarterly profit reports from Best Buy, FedEx, and Research in Motion, and will be keeping an eye on dollar-traded commodities, gold and crude prices last week, losing more than 1%. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Now an arts and entertainment review with Bob Sokolsky.
It was a familiar theme for Gary Schultz, also one that could light a short fuse on a temper the noted producer could usually keep under control. But look at this, he semi-thundered, and he ran a finger down a computerized roster of local performers who had recently died, stopping when he came to the name Ed Parry. This guy was sensational, Schultz declared, and yet hardly anybody outside the Inland Empire ever heard of him. It all just goes back to what I've always believed. The theater is the most unfair business in the world, and he referred to a list of performers he called excellent, but never seen by the right person at the right time. And he and his visitor agreed. This is a situation that has to be frustrating. But the greater pity is the number of theater, TV, and movie audiences who never had the opportunity to see the full range of such talents. In the matter of family programming, for example, everyone can recall this series. And if you have any kids or grandkids,